All right, everyone. The other day, the Israelis managed to stage a hostage rescue operation over in Nuzarat. It's actually a refugee camp in the center of the Gaza Strip. And there is a lot of diplomatic bickering going on with regards to whether this is acceptable or not. The United States security advisors basically being non-committal on this particular issue. Link in the description, archived, of course. Here are my thoughts. If a nation does have its citizens held abroad, under any circumstances, so they're being held captive by some state actor, some non-state actor, it is generally justified to retrieve them. The Palestinian Authority, for what it's worth, is saying that this was basically a massacre. The Israelis come in with helicopters and shit and gun a bunch of people down, and then they got 4 hostages out of there. It's possible that other hostages may have died in the process, which is regrettable. Being neither Team Israel nor Team Palestine, I'm Team America. I look at it as sort of a doppelganger of what happened in the Turks and Caicos recently. A bunch of Americans were being held hostage there by a quasi-state actor. It's a territorial government, of course, under the British, because they had ammunition in their luggage while they were attempting to actually leave the Turks and Caicos. So clearly there was no malintent. They did nothing wrong. And finally we got at least one of those hostages repatriated to the United States. And actually he's come out and said he's blasted the Biden administration saying, why didn't you do anything for me? And my governor wrote a letter for me. Congress attempted to act to embargo the Turks and Caicos and shut off the availability of travel insurance there, basically hazarding, a good 40-50% of their economy in the process. But Biden didn't do anything for me. It's that sort of structural weakness that really is a problem when you're leading a nation. You can't have that. Netanyahu fundamentally, therefore, in my opinion, is justified in greenlighting this particular rescue attempt. It went off well. They did get 4 of the hostages back. The more hostages that Israel can repatriate through whatever means it can do so, the less likely you are to see a regional war, actually. This is an anti-war video, by the way. I don't support the fact that there's fighting going on there anyway. If Israel is capable of withdrawing hostages, this can be through diplomatic negotiations. Those appear to have stalled, generally speaking. The ceasefire that I predicted would not be a thing is not actually a thing. You've got a regional war already, at least in that particular region. You don't have the Syrians involved, although you have the Yemeni Houthis involved. What is risked is a wider conflict. So you risk getting the Iranians involved and their Syrian allies, certainly Hezbollah to a greater degree, the Houthis. You would then potentially get Egypt involved. You would potentially get Saudi Arabia involved. It could escalate badly. It could become a really, really bad regional conflict, killing millions of people in the process. If civilians were indeed killed here, and we get totally different metrics, totally different numbers when we consult Palestinian versus Israeli versus international sources. They can never agree upon a number, including the total casualties. Could be upwards of 30,000 according to the Palestinians. Could be 25 or 20,000 according to international sources. It's lower than that if you consult Israeli sources. If, though, you are going to be a nation and you have citizens that have been effectively kidnapped by a foreign opponent of some sort, or held by a foreign country, you should go in dry. You should attempt to extract them if it's reasonable to do so. And afterwards, then diplomacy can sort itself out. I see no particular problem with what Israel did in this particular situation. They identified that there were hostages held there. They went in, guns blazing, and they extracted them successfully. I don't know why anyone can possibly impeach them on this particular issue. I'm not a fan of Israel's overall stance with regards to Gaza. I'm not in favor of them perpetually occupying Gaza, creating the no-go zone, and all the other things that Netanyahu has been backed into a corner to do. I'm not in support of that. But if you have innocents, hostages, these are civilians, and you can extract them, You see a window in which you can go in, you can get them with minimizing casualties. I don't understand why anyone would have a problem with this. And I also don't understand why the Biden administration sits by and is very, very non-committal on this particular issue. The Biden administration has weighed in on every minutia with regards to what's going on in Israel and Palestine now for months. Don't cross this red line. Don't go here. Don't do that. Please accede to the ceasefire deal. They're very much involved with regards to the Israel-Gaza conflict. The conflict between the Israeli forces and Hamas generally, with secondary forces involved as well. They weigh in every single day. We see it on the news every single day. But on this particular issue, when Israel finally does something that ultimately is justified, all of a sudden they come out and they say nothing. We will not confirm or deny whether we're in favor of this particular endeavor. Yeah, because you want the hostages to be there probably because it makes you a lot of money. And then you can get Congress to bully up more aid for Israel, more aid that they don't even need because quite clearly they're competent to do it themselves. You just want to launder money at this point. That appears to be the Biden administration's MO. If Israel does something wrong, like crosses a red line and Biden never addresses it, that's the only time that he's silent, by the way. If Israel goes into central Rafah and he told them not to do that, he'd make the aid conditional. All of a sudden, it's a big problem. I found it funny that in the same 24-hour period, Joe Biden personally and publicly apologized to Zelensky for withholding aid. Well, come on, man, it was them Republicans in Congress. I'm sorry that we didn't get you that $10 billion, Mr. Zelensky. I'm really sorry about that. It was the hardline far right in Congress. This is a weird administration. I've never seen such bizarre diplomacy before. You have an instance in which Israel is doing something that's genuinely justified, and you're very non-committal and don't really want to talk about the issue. Apparently there was an American cell, by the way, involved with this hostage rescue. So you're saying that a bunch of Americans were over there helping to scope out the hostages and get them released, but you won't even support them? Meanwhile, if Israel decides to bulldoze another settlement, the Biden administration is like, they throw their hands up in the air. There'll be a mild complaint about it. Israel has done plenty of things that deserve our ire. This is not one of them. This is the repatriation of hostages, and it was a successful operation involving U.S. support. And the administration has nothing to say about it. If Israel were to launch a bunker buster right now and glass 5,000 Palestinians, the Biden administration probably wouldn't be so non-committal. Yeah, they'd probably praise it. Well, come on, man, there's a bunch of dead Hamas members. It's wonderful. A bunch of dead orphans as well. But if they do something that's genuinely under their purview, because those are their citizens, like they're allowed to project force. The United States should be doing the same thing. We should have sent a bunch of Chinook helicopters full of Marines over to the Turks and Caicos and occupied the fucking islands. That's what we should have done. A little bit of imperialism never hurt anybody. That's about all. Peace out.